Understand that pathological narcissists do not have love to give because they exist in victim abuser consciousness. They are based in their shame and they're unable to move past their pride. They did not develop past their lower ego. And if we're talking about love and empathy, well, those vibrations are all the way up there in the 500s. When pathological narcissism at an energy spectrum exists below the line of 200. It exists below the line of courage. Again, pathological narcissists are rooted in their shame, and this is pathologically low self-esteem so low that they would probably have to look up to see it. And at best, they get to the level of dysfunctional pride. This is their grandiosity and their false sense of superiority. And understand that you have to transcend lower level emotions to get to a higher one. However, pathological narcissists are unable to let go of their pride because they do not see anything wrong with their behavior. So they are perfect. And perfect people do not need to change. Hence, pride cometh before the fall, and they fall right back down to shame. Because pathological narcissists exist in victim abuser consciousness. Any relationship that you get into with a pathological narcissist will be a victim abuser type 1. So understand that there is a certain type of thinking that comes from people that are stuck in victim abuser consciousness. And understand that pathological narcissists do not have love to give, hence they will love bomb. And love bombing is one of the many manipulation tactics that they use to overwhelm you and flatter you so that you think it is love. And again, you're going to drop your guard. And eventually you're going to see where they're going to devalue, discard, and oftentimes try to hoover you back into this abuse cycle. Abusers think love is abuse in their demented, twisted minds. Again, this is how they think at their level of consciousness. So as we go through today's lesson, I want to remind you not to project your consciousness onto the pathological narcissist because they do not think like you. Eagles do not think like vultures. Eagles are hunters. They go out and find fresh meat. Vultures are scavengers. They go out and find rotten meat. Both are birds, but they think completely differently. Again, do not project your consciousness onto a pathological narcissist. Do not assume that the thoughts that are in your mind are also the thoughts that are in their mind, because again, you are not stuck in victim abuser consciousness. You have access to the 4th dimension, the 5th dimension or higher. You have empathy. You have love to give, which means that again, you have access to a higher dimension. So understand that pathological narcissists do not have love to give. They have abuse to give. They have love bombing to give. They have triangulation to give. They have the double bind to give. They have gaslighting to give, and so on, because again, they exist in victim abuser consciousness. That is where they are comfortable. I did a previous video where I mentioned that pathological narcissists are the grumpy old troll that lives under the bridge. Understand that under the bridge is that line where you see on the Hawkins scale or the map of consciousness by Dr. David R. Hawkins. That line is right there at pride. Because again, that is where they stop. That is the line in the sand. They are under the bridge. That is where they live. They live in victim abuser consciousness. They live in their lower ego. They exist in the 3rd dimension. Every day they wake up, they're in shame, so they're in the 1st dimension. But at best, they get to the 3rd dimension. They get to pride, and pride cometh before the fall, so they fall right back down to shame. That is the psyche of the pathological narcissist. So oftentimes, abusers will try to convince you to tolerate their inappropriate behavior because to an abuser, love is really attention. This is the pathological narcissist narcissistic supply. And narcissistic supply is the attention. admiration, validation, and reflection that you give to them. And this is what they are interpreting as quote unquote LOVE. Pathological narcissist people did not develop to the level of consciousness to understand love, to give love, and also to receive love. So you cannot love a pathological narcissist and they cannot love you back. If you try to pour love into a pathological narcissist, all of your love and kindness and compassion is going to evaporate right there at the third dimension, because we exist in separate dimensions, again, based on our level of consciousness.